What is up, everybody? I'd like to welcome each and every one of you back to a new One Punch Man the Strongest LSSR review. Today we're going to be looking at free-to-play's worst nightmare, SSR Genos. Now, when I say free-to-play worst nightmare, is he really that bad? Let's find out. So first, a brief introduction into our subject. Genos is the main DPS unit for the current meta up until bomb, and that's to a minimum. He is still being used in CN till this day, so Genos' timeline is quite long. He's also considered one of the best solo carry units in the game for PvP, player versus player, and PvE requiring more than one target, such as Nightmare CC, and you saw an example with the recent prank event. We have to hit multiple units. He's able to clear that very fast. He's still used till this day in CN, as mentioned before, as a main DPS using Gyro Core. With the release of Awakened Vaccine Man, it seems bomb time is up. So most people still use Gyro Core unless they have a very strong threat of a very good Genos in the server, then they will stick back to bomb core. PvP is irrelevant sans him. This is for the foreseeable future. Up until bomb in November, your PvP experience will be quite bad without him. Now, on to his cons. The most common con will be his insane investment, but is it as bad as people say? We will find out later in the material expense. And it's considered, and all your eggs are thrown into one basket. You're basically optimizing your account to have everything onto Genos as well as one tank. But you're supposed to have one main DPS and one main tank. So, I mean, it's not too bad of a con if I say so myself. And it also requires, as I mentioned before, account optimization. You have to go through your whole account, check for random SACs in your Sonic or in your Paradise Trooper, and make sure that you throw as many SACs into Genos as possible. Now, on to the abilities. We have his passive, also known as Gear Reassemble. If Genos dies, it grants him Undying. He explodes and deals 160% extra damage based off his attack, and revives with 50% HP next turn. This is how it looks like. So he explodes, dealing extra damage, as you can see, to everyone, and then he revives. So on his extreme passive, which is 5 star, his explode damage goes up by 20% to 180%, and his revive HP goes up from 50% to 75%. Now onto his basic attack, Rocket Kick. You won't be using this ability at all, but this is just for clarification's sake. He hits one enemy, dealing 180% of his attack stat. So very basic. So now we're going into his bread and butter ability, his Haymaker, something that everybody truly fears when they face a Genos. His ultimate Spiral Incineration Cannon. It's an AoE 6 ability, dealing damage based off 20% of his max hit points. He inflicts burn for 1 turn with a 70% chance to actually land it, and the burn value is 70% of his attack. Reduce Genos max HP by 30% till the end of the turn. This is what it looks like. Pretty cool animation if I do say so myself. Ultra Ultimate wise is the AoE scaling goes up by 8%, but efficiency wise it goes up by 33%, totaling up to 32% of his max HP. The burn lasts for 2 rounds instead of 1 round, and it maintains the same chance to inflict but increase the burn percentage damage up by 20% to a total of 90%. He also reduced his max HP by 20% instead of 30%, which is pretty good, till the end of the turn. And I would say his Ultra Ultimate is one of the most aesthetic. And just look at that, guys. Let's just watch it one more time. Boom! So now let's head into the meta analysis. I'll be showing you a little bit of some gameplay on a CN account. Hello everybody, welcome back to a new session of meta-analysis where we'll be looking at Genos in the current meta state in CN server. So for context, for those of you who are new to this, I basically show you what these units do in the current meta state, what's their function, and we analyze and learn together so that we are able to build the best units for the future. So judging from this lineup, it shows that he is not prioritizing Genos as the main altar. The reason is probably because he has built his Watchdog Man, Phoenix Man, as well as his RG way much more than Genos has. We will have a look at his Genos in a little bit, but from what I see now, his Genos is quite strong based on the HP bar itself. So from what I can gather, his main units are actually RMG and Watchdog. So once RMG and Watchdog are down, you can think of Genos akin to Carnage Kabuto, where he's the last man standing which can deal an AoE nuke to basically finish off whatever's left of the opponents. And also with the introduction of Bob Core, most people don't really want to have Speed 1 Genos anymore, for the simple fact that Bomb's passive actually reduce a percentage of the damage dealt by abilities starting at 60% based on the amount of hit it does. For example, Genos Ultimate, you have the step which pushes all the units up in the air, and then you have the cannon shot, so those are two registered hits. So it basically nullifies that ability's damage by 48%. It starts at 60% and it scales down by 12% per hit. So most people will just run Genos up until the point where it doesn't matter anymore. Either there's straggling units left on the battlefield, or you just need him to clean up when your main DPS has done their job taking out most of the units. So that's usually the role of what Genos does in the current state. During his release in our server, he will basically be a speed 1 demon one-shotting every single person out on the battlefield. But eventually he will be relegated to this point if you are not hyper investing into him. So let's have a look at that brother's Genos, so we can have a look at how well invested it is. So CN loading time, guys. So his Genos, it's decently invested. So it has its Ultra Ult and 3-star buff gears, which is what I recommend, and I will recommend later in the video. We have slightly above average 4-star gears, HP percent, HP crit, and HP percent as well, so we don't have HP crit damage on this guy. And we have 1 HP attack percentage for some reason, I'm not so sure why. And no speed on this Genos, as I said before, because of Bomb. So probably he had quite a bit of speed on Genos when it first came out, but now it is what it is. He's also removed, I think, 1 star from his insignia. I remember it being 6 stars, or maybe I'm confusing him with another person. It happens more often than not. We'll also look at his RMG, which is what I assume is his main build unit, as well as Doggy. So 3-star, 4-star, quite good. We have approaching 700k attack, decently built as well. His Phoenix is also decently built. His Garo is dead. His Watchdog is not bad. So this guy is not following the 2 unit max theory, but he's basically pooling his resources into multiple units. I'm not sure why, but maybe that's a different tactic in CN, or maybe he has plans for future units and just want to make sure that his current team is able to stand high enough in the meta, and it's doing good for him. So it works in his server, so it's not wrong. The 2 unit max theory is not a 100% right thing. It's not a 100% wrong thing. It's just something for you to keep in tune with if you don't have enough resources. Moving along, we're going to have a look at my Genos. So where are you, handsome boy? There we go. So my Genos has 1.5 million HP. That is absolute crap. but his gears are not the gears that I tend to use. I'm just using speed gears on him just for the video. But this is what I would put on him. HP percentage on here, HP speed, HP crit, and where are my shoes? So this is what I would originally put on Genos. So you have 4 star, 4 star, 4 star, 4 star, 4 star, 3 stars, sorry, and 0 stars on your shoes. And you already have an increase of 700k HP, which is not bad by any means. Now I just want to tune it just a little bit. So I have a HP percent there, so I need HP speed shoe, I think. That would be better. HP percent, and then I'll give a HP speed shoe. I do not have an orange HP speed shoe, so I have to do something else. So that will do maybe. So my HP will drop by a little bit, but if I throw SSCs into this, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. So now we are considering the maxing of your units. If you have to choose, pick a purple speed gear. And you definitely want to wash for HP and crit. I've been unlucky with washing this, but you know, it is what it is. And now begs the big question. Should you as a player get Genos? In my opinion, his position in the meta is just too much for you to ignore. You will basically be bullied by every Genos player in your server. So I suggest you think about it well. I'll drop down the minimum requirements for a decent Genos at free-to-play to low small spender standards. It won't be that hype one-shot Genos build, but he should be able to carry you enough to the point where if the enemy doesn't have Genos or has a weaker Genos, you will have a significantly high chance of winning regardless of the other units present on the battlefield. That's it for this meta analysis, everybody. Sorry, I tried to keep it as short and sweet as possible. Back to the video. And we're back. So now that you've gotten a little taste of what Genos can do, let's look at the materials needed to make Genos great. Limit break 4 star is more than fine. It's quite acceptable actually. You don't really need to push to 5 stars if you don't have the materials or you don't have the ET slot for him. You can either ET him to 4 stars or you can Omni him. Both are viable options. For 4 stars, the total cost is 85 shards and 133 badges. For Awakening, you should unlock till 4 stars. The reason being you need the passives from the stars. So you need the crit rate, crit damage, as well as the crush rate. 5 stars if you're getting KS, because why not? Unless you have a better unit in the future which you're getting a KS for that you want to keep. I think if you're getting Genos KS, you might as well push him to 5 stars. Because he undying twice, so it's quite good actually, but it's not necessary. And minimum, bare minimum also, if you have another invested unit, is 3 stars because you need the crit plus crit damage. Now some additional information. Genos build is very versatile. So as you can see on the screen, you can run either a broken set or a prisoner. Now there are 2 ways you can play Genos. You can play slow Genos where you deal more damage but you have a higher chance of, well, dying, which is not really ideal, and you give the enemy a chance to set up their tanks or their tank top master or etc etc, which can be quite frustrating for your Genos. Or you can go the speed build, which is shown on the screen now, where you have 2 speed gears, HP crit and HP crit damage. This is from a Taiwanese friend of mine named Y322. Thank you so much, bro, for the screenshots. This is from his Genos. His Genos is about 4.7 to 4.9 million HP, somewhere there. So it's perfectly feasible for most players. I highly recommend you go for broken set, because unless you're really lucky with this specific set of prisoner, I think it's still better to run a broken orange. Talent wise, you have unyielding, but we do have a little bit to talk about that later. So you must be level 4. So only when you unlock his unyielding, make sure you can level it up all the way to level 4 immediately. Sigils, you should have sharp sword, 1 piercing if it's level 6. If not, put another sharp sword there, and the rest of it should be covered with vitality sigils. The reason why sharp sword is because you get health as a substat, and for piercing is to break through their block, because block can be quite bothersome with Genos damage. Buff gears, you should have a HP hero with HP and speed bonuses. Minimum also you need 2 speed bonus. For high tech you need triple crit. Minimum also is double. For S class you need double damage rate. Maximum also is triple. So quite straightforward with that. It's quite hard to roll, but you have ample amount of time to gather materials and wash. So I wish you all the best on that. So now additional information too. So this is the big question. How many SACs? Bare minimum for a very strong Genos is 400 SACs. But for a decently built Genos, which can more or less cause problems for the enemy but cannot one-shot, your minimum SAC is around 138. You need 5-star crit gear and 3-star everything else. Your speed gears, your crit damage gear, your buff gears, all 3 stars. And then you need to have really good substats, and then you can slowly work your way up from there. Now, I'm not recommending you to get Genos if you can only throw 138 SSC onto him, of course. But if you want to get Genos and your bracket only allows you for this much, you might as well try for it. And then build it up later with the amount of SSCs you collect. So yeah, slowly work your way up, but this is more or less for your reference. Minimum SAC is 138. Should I pull Genos? Check your account SAC. If you have around 300 SAC, it's not going to be a good Genos, I'm going to be real with you, but it will be usable. If you're within your own bracket lah. I mean, a whale wouldn't have 300 SACs in their account, let's be real. So if you have around 200 to 300, maybe 350 SAC, you're around the free to play the small spender bracket, so you should be fine. Check your gears, make sure you have HP crit damage, 2 HP speed, or 1 HP speed, 1 HP percentage. And also check your buff gears, make sure you have the right substats, make sure you have the right main stats. Don't roll triple crit on the attack, high tech buff gear please. If you have everything checked out, have fun man. If not, then you might want to skip Genos for RNG. So now we go into his main issues. Number 1 is his speed tuning, because it's a massive and daunting challenge for a Genos player to actually go up against a Tank Top Master with Goketsu, especially when the Tank Top Master has Ultra Ult. So you speed tune to outspeed Tank Top Master and it should be fine. If you miss him, basically you have no PvP hope in chance. You get ATT down the line, so it doesn't matter because enemy Genos will just one-shot your ATT. So it just really doesn't matter. You unmute one time, also next round Genos just one-shots you again. He also requires extremely high investment. As I mentioned before, 400 SCCs is about quite a good Genos. You can only go up from there. He's similar to Vega from League of Legends, where you can only go up, you cannot go down. So it's just an extremely power scale character which sees no end until you cannot put any more SSCs into him. And he has basically no counterplay until bomb. You can try to one-shot him. If you have too much HP, it wouldn't work. You can try to lower his max HP. If he got KS, it wouldn't work. There's only one way to actually beat him, and it's to get bomb. That's why they created bomb. That is the whole purpose of bomb. DK was supposed to do a better job at it, but DK wasn't enough. And there's also an unyielding bug. So as I said before, your unyielding should be level 4. If your unyielding is from level 1 to 3, your HP will not actually give the right value when you die because of his passive. So you will be revived with 2 little HP that you just immediately die again, from what I understand from the Chinese translations and from a few friends explaining to me. So this bug settles itself at level 4 above, so just rush to level 4 to just mitigate the bug. That's all from me everybody. I hope that this guide has served to give you some insight into what Genos is, how he functions, and whether you should get him or not. If you want to ask me more direct questions, of course my comment section is available. My Discord is also online. I'm more or less more active on Discord. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Till we meet again. Peace.